Thursday Exchange, episode 3. Wow, we've made it this far. People actually have been watching us. Hopefully people get on soon. But it's been an interesting week here in this world we live in.
Yeah, it's like something out of a book. Because it's not normal.
I mean, we're really going to hone down this week on comedy. And I have a few interesting stories this week that will definitely have a few people laughing. But in the world in general, I mean, you hear about that guy who happened to win $50,000 twice this year in the lottery?
I think we should.
Guy from Maryland? I mean, come on now. He won twice in 1 year, and some of us still haven't even got our stimmy yet.
It's insane. Really is insane.
And then, this one's going to be good. We have a special guest tonight, James Zeiss. He is an award-winning filmmaker, actor, director,
Comedian.
Yes, author extraordinaire. He does it all. And he has a love for cats, and this is going to really be, this is going to strike home for him. This cat was reunited with her family after being missing for 10 years. Miracles do exist, you know?
How old is the cat?
I don't know about that. I just thought it was an uplifting.
It about used up its 9 lives at that point.
Exactly. We want to have some uplifting stories because we always go dark and we always get into these deep discussions. But we want to uplift you guys. And we were talking about the stimmy last week, and we were just talking about this guy making $50,000. Well, listen, I can't give you the golden road to 50K. But I could tell you how to make.
Starts with an L and ends with auto.
I can tell you how to make $500 though.
I'm not sure I want to know. Not sure I want to know.
There's this site out there. It's called bonusfinder.com. Apparently, they're seeking professional binge watchers. Okay, all you got to do to make $500: binge watch some Netflix, eat pizzas, and make reviews on both. So
I'm not sure I understand. Like, how is that even a possibility? Like, you just sit there and watch TV?
I'm sure what it is probably is they want more people to boost their shows, more reviews, so people will watch them. There's a ton of stuff on Netflix that nobody watches, or people don't even know that exists. I don't know how many times I told people, hey, listen, you see the show on Netflix? They're like, I know nothing about it. And then you got this whole catalog of films from other countries with subtitles where they're like, hi, I'm Charles.
My name is Godzilla.
And whatever it is. So, you want to make $500 quick, baby girl?
I don't know about girl, but
and
I
pizza.
do want to make $500.
This one might be dear to you, Stefan, because I hear, you've been to this event many times, but apparently
only once, but it was fun.
This year's No Pants subway ride has been canceled due to COVID. Due to COVID.
Dude, has anybody, I don't know if anybody has gone to that event, but I'll tell you, going down there for that, I'm not gonna lie, I was motivated partly because a model wanted to do a photo shoot during the No Pants subway ride, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna say no to that. But it was very bizarre because they gathered down by the big bull where they had the protests a few years ago, the one on Wall Street. What was the name of it again? Down with the Fed or something like that.
Something like that.
I don't know. Occupy Wall Street. That's what it was. And so right in that same area, Ducati Park, everybody gathers up, and then they all have a big speech organizing it, and then they go down into different subways, and eventually they all converge at 14th Street Station at Union Station, and it's bizarre because you get on the subway just normal, and then you wait till it starts to move, and then people just start dropping trout. You have to keep your underwear on. You obviously you can't become a sexual offender. That's a bad idea.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, it definitely was watching people's reactions because they'll just be sitting there reading a paper like, what the hell?
I mean, did you participate or were you just a photographer?
I was just the photographer. I was a little bit of a
sure you were.
I kind of wish I had participated now because I think it would have been fun.
I mean, I've seen these things going on in the city where they have the nude bike rides and all that stuff. I mean, you got to be really confident in your body, letting it all hang out,
Or
but
just not care.
you just don't give a shit, I guess. But
Yeah.
you know, it's a sad thing. So it's, I guess, something to look forward to. Maybe 2022.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. But
Let's make it to February.
yeah, maybe. But we got some heavier topics, of course, this week. This has been a crazy week. Those of you guys following the news, you've been hearing a lot of stuff about Lisa Montgomery, who was executed, convicted of murder in 2004. She murdered a pregnant woman, and it was really brutal. However,
was it like an insanity thing, or because
it's a lot of discussion of whether she was, you know, mentally capable of doing this act, and she did suffer with bipolar disorder, and she also has complex PTSD from childhood trauma and abuse, which is terrible. But you know, we were talking about this last week. We were talking about mental health awareness and issues that arise, and there's a really thin line, you know, because she was cognitively all there and she committed a heinous crime. But there's a lot of people fighting on both sides of the aisle, people who are just entirely against the death penalty. And I believe this is under the Trump administrations. This was the 11th execution during his presidency. Mm-hmm. So people are calling it a killing spree. I don't want to say I would necessarily believe in that. I mean, this lady butchered an unborn child and a mother.
That's pretty heinous.
But it is a sensitive topic because of the mental health issues.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to go too deep into it because it is a sensitive subject. However, you know, it is important to understand mental health issues and understand, you know, what's going on in the world and what kind of things are getting passed. Also, Trump being impeached. This is the second time being impeached.
Yeah, I mean, he's
by the House,
breaking records.
He is, and no matter whatever side you're on, you know, this impeachment, you know, they're saying it's for incitement, for insurrection. It's really serious stuff. And, you know, he's been going on the news. I don't know if it happened after the impeachment or, you know, because, you know, all of his Twitter and Facebook and Instagram have been, you know, blocked primarily. But now he's coming out and he's saying like he's entirely against the violence. You know, he's for peace. You know, he's been quoted to say there must be no violence. And
well, yeah, he realized he screwed up.
Well, I had conversations with a few people, and I don't know for sure if that's what his intentions were. His ego, I think, you know, there is repercussions for what you say, especially in a place of power. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people who were like, you know, they're right-wing people, and they even viewed some of the stuff he said as extremely like, you know, yeah, he was inciting people because he knows his base. And the base of people that are supporting him are, you know, some of them are extremists, not all of them. So when people go across and say they're all, you know, idiot hillbillies and this, a lot of them are business owners. A lot of them are, you know, scholars.
I know some of them.
And like I said, not all of them endorsed what happened at the Capitol last week. And it's a crazy situation. So those are some of the really wild news stories this week. I mean, I enjoy the uplifting ones. You know, I think the saddest part of the week was, you know, no pants subway ride.
Yeah.
Not really. I think the saddest part is like there's still all the negative chaos going around. So, you know, this week we really wanted to discuss comedy, and we really wanted to say the importance of laughter and like these uplifting moments. I mean, this is another thing I think is stem off of mental health in a way. And there's so many awesome benefits of comedy.
I mean, how many times have I told you, like, over the past few months that I've, like, been blasting through stand-up comedy just because sometimes you just gotta laugh, man. Like, regardless of what's going on in the world, sometimes you just need to laugh.
And just have fun with it. There's people don't know how to do it no more. And even in comedy, there's challenges. We were talking about this PC culture, these politically correctness. You're afraid to offend anybody. Can you imagine Archie Bunker, All in the Family existing in 2021?
You would be crucified.
There's no way. And there's a list of other, hilarious shows that were in TV shows. And I'm not saying that they're all they all should be accepted, because
Benny Hill would be basically firing squad.
Well, exactly. I'm not saying everything should be given open arms, because let's face it, there was a time in this country where racism was openly acceptable. But at the same time, if you can't laugh about your own, background, your own culture, and you can't make comedy out of life in general. I mean, the funniest comedians have me laughing about the most serious topics, their disorders, or, things that they've challenged with poverty. And these are not funny topics, but they make their experience almost in a way, they open the door for you to experience their life. And that's the importance of comedy. Just today, there's my comedy.
I was going to say, there's also another thing of comedy is that throughout cultures in the past, they were tolerated even by kings. You would go up and poke fun at the king because you were the village fool. You were considered almost in some cultures, almost like the wise man, because you would challenge people's hard set beliefs on what they thought, but you would do it in a funny way, and hopefully it didn't get your head cut off.
Yeah. Hopefully your joke didn't PC culture you and delete you forever, which would mean hanging or guillotine, fire. I don't know.
We're doing good on staying on the light topics.
Listen, they're light topics. They're already gone. But I mean, at the same time, life is comedy. Here in 2021, you see, everyone's probably wondering, he dressed up for his show. Maybe I did. But at the same time, I just did an online over, FaceTime interview, and I had an interview yesterday as well. And life is a comedy at times. I mean, we live in a time where even employers kind of trick you into things. You read a job description and they're so desperate for employees, like myself or other people, that they put you in scenarios where you go to this, interview far away or for an hour or so, and you're sitting there. And at the end of the interview, they hit you with a curveball. They start giving you job descriptions that clearly weren't what they posted. They start telling you days off, and your schedule is into the midnight hours. And then you sit there and you're like, should I just stand up and exit slowly? Or should I just, I'm a good actor. I guess I could pull it off, but.
Yeah, it's hard though when something like that. I mean, have you seen, what's it called? My brain's not working. Have you ever had somebody come to your door and try to sell you either Verizon or Optimum?
No, but there's this, really enthusiastic guy trying to sell me car insurance every day and ask me about my car's limited warranty. That happens every day.
Interesting.
Anyone in my life, family, friends, even my girlfriend, I think that guy reaches out to me more by phone than anyone I know. Hey, Charles, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing great. Who is this? Well, before I get to that, we're here to discuss, you're on a recorded line, and you're here to discuss your car's limited warranty.
Yeah.
Click.
I don't even have a warranty anymore. I own the car.
Listen, I don't own the car, and I don't have a warranty, and I'm just, hoping nothing happens, Jesus take the wheel. Drive careful. But we all have these moments in life that's what the F moments, that you don't know how to react, so you just make light of them.
Well, when I was just got back from college, I worked at Panera for a couple of years, and then after that, I found this job for door-to-door sales. I did not know that it was a door-to-door sales job. That's why I was asking about the Verizon thing, because they said it was an account executive. And I show up, and I'm got my little suit on, I'm all whatever, and I walk into the office, and there's like you, and walk into the office, and they're literally having in the background in another room cheering, and somebody smashes a gong and rings a bell, and I'm just like, what in the hell is this place? And I'm like, this is starting to sound pretty cool. And they still wouldn't give me like the exact details. It wasn't until the second interview that they kind of like, when I was going on a field trip with them, when it was like, oh, this is what it is. Got it.
I think so many conversations I have with people, and they say, like, you ever want a really good quality, like reality show? Put like a camera on us at work or like in a situation. Like, I had the most ridiculous interviews and starting, like fresh out of college, I was unsure of what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And quite frankly, I still am. But before that, not for nothing, I remember like I was applying to all these places and I was, going to different interviews. And finally, I went to this interview. It was like an office place. This guy he's like, I don't want to name the name because I don't want to get lost, sued or anything. Mm-hmm. But I go to this place, it's a technology place, telemarketing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But we're in there. We're in this like orientation thing. There's like 10 of us or 15 of us in a room. And they're like, the guy starts talking about, everyone here has, ultimate potential and it just hasn't been reached. And he pulls out this like Bible-like thing. And it's like, that's like a script to go by. We all will make money here. Lots of it, like unreleased potential. You can all be, trading in your cars by the end of the week type of thing. So, I'm inspired. I'm in my, what am I, 19, 20, 21, something like that. And I'm like, hell yeah. And my friend at the time, we're like looking at each other like, dude, you ready to be bosses? And he's like, yeah, man, we're ready to take the world by storm. So here we are. Everyone's hired, by the way. There was no interview process. And so we're sitting here like these goofballs and we're making phone calls and going by a script, this is during like the swine flu pandemic. You guys remember that?
The training round for this year.
Oh yeah. So swine flu was a big thing, about 10 years ago. So anyways, we're calling these numbers, telemarketers, and like offering these cleaning supplies. And we're randomly going through the phone book because there's like no organization here. And we're like, hey, can I speak to your principal? And it's like a university. Like it was so unorganized, but we were really trying to make sales. And at the end of the week, basically, we're thinking we're getting paid because that's, the verbal agreement with this place. And the guy's like, did you make any sales? And we're like, well, we tried. And, a few of them fell through. And he's like, you don't get paid. Little did we know, but these are the little things, like, I guess, about growing up, but they're funny to look back and laugh on because at the moment...
Or their husband and wife gets home and cancels the account that you sold to them, and you were expecting a $500 commission check, and then you get $200 because 3 of them had their husbands come home and be like, what in the hell did you do while I was at work?
Exactly. I just had too many life experiences that were just ridiculous that at the moment, they weren't funny. I was pissed off. I was like, I was ready to turn up in this guy's establishment and be like, bro, you need to cut me a motherfucking check because I just worked a week here, getting hung up on, people screaming on the phone, like yelling at me worse than their exes. But yeah, like life is sometimes funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for example, this is a real extreme case, but this is why people need to be able to laugh, even when it doesn't seem like appropriate sometimes. Like when my dad died, we had everybody over at our house, like, giving us support, whatever, because like we were getting ready for the funeral. And, after a certain amount of time of everybody being sad, something's got to give. Somebody's got to do something. There's got to be some sort of comical thing where everybody just has to let that gust of laughter out. Now, what was funny about it was because somebody said something stupid and everybody laughed. But my friend from Ukraine and his mom walked in just at that moment. And they were like, what is going on? Why are you all laughing at a funeral? And we're like, hey, guys, how's it going? So.
In a way, too, like a lot of times at funerals are really like depressing moments. A lot of people reflect on the good times. They celebrate the life as much as possible. And they bring up those bizarre memories that really keep everybody laughing. Dude, you keep on adding yourself.
I know.
Why? Hello?
There we go.
Hey, sorry about that. I was unsure what you were doing because you didn't tell me. But yeah, so like there's those moments that really they're not fun moments, but you do remember the good times, and you bring up things that remind you of the way that person was.
Yep. So, as far as James Zeiss, why don't you tell us, our audience, a little bit about who we're going to be having on later?
Well, we'll bring him on soon. As soon as he comes, he's he's an award-winning actor, like I said, director, writer. I have a pretty long history with James. One of my very first films, The Factory, he played a really quirky character on there, Dr. Thomas, and I'm sure that James has a lot of memories from that production. In a way, I think that film may have affected James. I can't wait to hear what he thinks of it, because a lot of the people that we've worked with over the years, collectively, he's worked with a lot of these people that he met on the set of The Factory. So it's weird how these little moments, these little connections of people, you never know where you're going to meet people in the future, and how we're going to kind of like bounce ideas off each other, but we'll get into that more when he gets on. He should be coming on soon. But one of the things too that really is great about comedy is people don't really realize how relaxing it is, how it actually boosts our immune system. A lot of scientists say, a lot of doctors say, like, laughter is good for the soul. The key to long life is laughing. Those are possible myths, but at the same time, they do say it does help build the immune system, triggers endorphins, our feel good. Laughter, comedy.
It's you. I mean, you feel it every time you do laugh, every time there's something funny.
But there's risks too. There's not all good benefits of laughing,
Yeah, especially when you laugh at something that you really shouldn't. Kind of like The Funeral, but it doesn't end up being funny, where you're just like, oh, I'm the only one laughing.
I mean, that's a possibility. Or you could have a protrusion of a, abdominal hernia. You could have incontinence issues, headaches. You don't know. There's so many negative risks of laughter. I mean, that's what I think a lot of people in the PC culture, canceling everything, really think. I think it would be really challenging for people now to do stand-up.
It is. Yeah. Stand-up has nearly died. Like it's almost entirely online now. I mean, they have drive-in theaters where people honk their horns instead of clapping now because of COVID. They have like the guy get up on the stage and they park cars in a giant parking lot around it. And Bert Kreischer was one of the first ones to do it. And like, do you know Bert Kreischer?
I'm not familiar, no.
He's a dude who always comes out on stage without a shirt on, like beer gut hanging out, and just completely nuts. He's got a couple of shows on, but he and Dave Chappelle both kind of went that route, and they did pretty well with it.
I mean, from the most part, we talked about this in our very first podcast about adapting to the times. So, you got to do what you got to do to make money, and possibly, if it's a safer avenue, take it. I'm not really concerned about the safe route. I'm talking about like content. When content is like, people are afraid to say certain things because they're afraid to offend an entire population of people, a whole way of life. We should all sit back and like think about that.
Well, even we discussed it yesterday. Like, I was thinking about like in terms of, are we going to get, with all the censorship that's going on, like if I'm cursing it, is it going to be an issue or not? But that's how we talk. And it's like, I don't want to have to change it. I'm
not a pirate by nature, but when I'm really enthusiastic about certain things, I do curse. There was a time where I was like, really like, like when you become an adult and you no longer live at home and you like kind of curse in front of your parents and they don't like reprimand you.
Yeah,
like
but you still go,
you still like, oh, like I said that in front of Dad. And he wasn't like, yesterday. What? Like I remember the first time I said like, shit or something, and my dad was like, "What the fuck you say?" Like it's like you never knew, like you were stepping on eggshells.
Yeah,
and it's funny how like I'm now a man, I could say this bad word, and it's just real. At the end of the day,
it's just a word.
It's just a word. If I'm not directing it at you, like Stefan, you're effing crazy, you know. I mean, you are, but I mean, so am I.
Well, yeah, I mean, I won't go against you on that one.
You know, we have our moments. You know, we all do, and that's part of it in general. We just got to have fun with whatever we're doing, and topics like this, comedy, it has to come from a sense of, you know, reality, or else it doesn't feel fun.
Who's your favorite comedian?
You know what? I don't really know. Like, I like comedic writers. Like, I really, 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 really love what the hell's his name? Writer of Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David. I think he is hilarious. I mean, Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of my favorite shows. Seinfeld.
Seinfeld is bomb.
Jerry Seinfeld. He's hilarious. I love Dave Chappelle.
Yes, he's one of
I
my
really
favorites.
do. I like Chris Rock. I mean, these sound like the stereotypical, but the reason why we remember these names is because they made an impact. I mean, if we're going back like Richard Pryor, these are comedians that, you know, they push boundaries. They weren't afraid to get their hands dirty per se, and it made a difference. You know, some of the stuff they were talking about was giving kind of cultural awareness from what's going on in their world. You know, I still remember what's his name? The little guy. The hell's his name? Not Chris Rock. I forget. But anyways, they give you a piece of their life and the stuff that we wouldn't even imagine. Like, we would be offended or offend somebody by laughing about, but they're letting you into their world for that moment.
I think one of the things that comedy is unique about is that it has the ability to, in a very acerbic kind of way, poke fun at things that are very sensitive topics. And up until recently, it's always been thought of as like, that's why they're doing it. Like, you know that what they're saying, they don't actually mean. Like, you know that you could be friends with this dude and you know that what he's saying on stage is the most raunchy, horrible crap. And he's doing it because, and he'll say right after, like, oh, that got a reaction. Let's see how much further we can go after that. Like, they're trying to do that. Like, that's their whole point. And then to cut a piece of that out and use that as a representation of their character is stupid.
I think the whole point of comedy is to kind of make you feel uncomfortable about topics that you may know to be true. A lot of us are afraid to say what we actually mean. And that's the reason I feel like there's so much conflict nowadays, because everybody's kind of stepping on eggshells. Like, I really don't like this guy, but I'm going to pretend I do. And
it's through text too. So
yeah.
On a voice.
Do you know how many times you text me and I'm like, is this dude getting sassy with me? Like,
yeah. I have that effect on a lot of people, and I'm like, no.
But I do it too. Like, I don't know how to act with people, or it's just, if you're not talking face to face and like stand-up comedians or just comedy in general, I think it's made to make us feel uncomfortable. A lot of people are sending comments, by the way. A lot of people are watching right now. Kevin Hart was the name. That was the comedian I was talking about. But,
yes, he is funny.
People are asking, where's the famous guy? Oh, he's coming soon. He's coming, you know, he's probably, you know, eating caviar right now and having his, you know, feet rubbed.
Beluga.
You know, the bath water nice and warm, candles around it, you know, someone seducing him.
Level.
Listen, he's a superstar. He should be treated as such. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I mean, we're going to have a fun conversation tonight. We're really going to drill it. I don't want to, it sounds really weird if I say we're going to really drill it hard and deep to James, but we're really we're really going to get him. No, but we're going to have some fun tonight. I know you guys are getting impatient, but it's important to know the effect that writing has on people in comedy and how complicated it is. And that's one of the things that James has mastered over the years. He knows how to, I want to say, challenge an audience and affect an audience and have people really resonate with his work, whether it's through just his jokes or the characters he creates, or even when he embodies characters. He's a man of many talents, but at the same time, like, we want to get into his head and where and why and how he does what he does. You know, for me, I could tell you right now that I am terrible with comedy, and it's one thing that I want to get better at. When it comes to like writing something, that I think is funny, I'm too subconscious. Like I was saying, I'm afraid. I want to say to get to it.
Or self-conscious.
Self-conscious. That's what I meant to say. I'm self-conscious of how I'm going to be like how I'm going to offend somebody from some of the language I'm using. I'm worried how the reaction, and I make, pretty gritty films that have some chaotic moments. But what I feel like when they're made in a serious light, it's easier than when you're trying to make light of a serious matter. Like when you're killing somebody and you're doing it with like, ta-da, like,
you're doing it softly.
Yeah, you're doing it. It's a big difference, but that's where I come. Like one of my, I don't want to say my worst pieces, but as a drama, Irony and Catharsis, that's one of my feature films. As a drama, I think it's wonderful. But as a comedy, because I necessarily, I wasn't entirely responsible. I wasn't the sole writer. But as the co-writer of that film, I felt, that I didn't go to a place where I understood what I was trying to convey as far as the climate. Like, we're talking about these businessmen and things that goes on in business culture that I myself didn't understand. So I tried to make comedy around my interpretation of it, and it just didn't work.
We got another comment coming in from Ed saying, when are you going to be doing your next movie, and can he be a character in it?
Absolutely, Ed. Ed, I would have your toes in my next movie. Your puppy.
I don't want anything to do with that.
Your deer's in your backyard, Ed. Anything you want, Ed, you can get. But yeah, Ed's a great guy, great producer, great friend. It's awesome you guys are watching. Thank you guys so much. And
thank you for participating.
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we got the special guest waiting, okay? His name is James Zeiss. Don't forget it. Superstar, legend. Okay?
Mr. Zeiss is coming on.
All right, here we go, guys. Well, hello.
Hey. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for spending some of your time and being a part of our little podcast and being one of our very first guests. You're a sandwich again, Stefan.
Did you forget my name already?
James?
There you go. You remembered it. Just kidding.
It is actually written behind your head too, or right below you. But I knew your name already.
So James, how are you holding up during this pandemic? What is keeping you motivated?
I just keeping busy. Like, funny enough, even though all this stuff's going down, like a lot of things are shut down, I just find myself busier now than even before because I just think everything's condensed now. Like, with maybe places closing at 10 o'clock or things limited, or whether it's my regular job or acting world stuff, everything's condensed now because now you're taking COVID tests and everything's more condensed. So I've been finding myself busier now than maybe I was last year, just with everything.
Yeah, I was just saying this before. Like, this time period has given so many people more opportunities, and I want to say excuses, but they're able to now get online. Like before, doing like a live stream like this would be like, I don't want to say frowned upon, but it's more socially acceptable now to like do these virtual conversations because of COVID. So it kind of gave us a little bonus point.
I mean, it's all about adapting. I mean, it's really like that's what we have available, and if we want to get our message out to people, that's kind of where we got to go.
So I want to talk, like we've known each other for a while. We've been through, you were in 3 of my feature films when I was kind of learning how to walk and making a movie. I'm not even so sure I learned, but at the same time, I feel like the experiences we had working together in the beginning, a lot of the people that I started off with, you also took on to be a part of your productions and move forward. So what did you take as far as my beginning steps? You can be honest.
No, first of all, I gotta say, I think your it was Factory. It was kind of it was maybe a year or two when I was getting into acting. So that was my first, might have been my second feature, but first I was like, wow, this is real. Going to the audition, having scripts and just a full team, a shoot schedule, multiple days. So it was my first really feature film experience. So don't beat yourself up too much. It was actually, at the time I was like, whoa. I remember you called me. I think I was cooking chicken when you called me. I think you called me at 6:30 to offer me the role. I was like, wow, this is it.
I was like, when he called me, he's like, hey, I'm like, Charles, who? You remember me
that guy.
A couple months ago? I'm like,
I'm that guy.
But Yeah, but there's something about it, just that group with this, Andrew, Sutton, Janine, even Matt, and it's just like we just became such a tight group where it's just like even years later. I mean, we think about it, it's like 6, 7 years ago. I think it's
Wow.
feels like
You don't realize, like, I feel like I play time by projects. Like my life is like, oh, that was like the factory, or that was Savior era. That was irony era. Like my life, like sometimes then when you think about it, like when people do like the memories on Facebook and it's like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, like I wrote the factory like years ago. And like it's so wild how like you never know where your relationships with people will go. And sometimes like it's wild. Like I've seen you at other film festivals, and like I'll be like doing a we started off in the Hudson Valley, but then I'm doing a film festival out in Callicoon, like in the Catskills, and you're submitted your projects at that event, and it's just like it's wild how years later we're still connected, and I feel like there's a reason to it. It's destiny.
Yeah.
But
I think it's just a mix of like I'm into it. I know you're definitely into it, and talented people and Andrew, and it's all that stuff, and it's just a perfect mix. Maybe you can't really explain it. And
Andrew's watching right now, so we got to tread lightly. Like this guy is like a modern day like magician. He's like a magical beast that flies on the wings of unicorns. Yeah. Andrew is talented.
But that ruins it because I wanted to trash him for the next 15 minutes, but now I can't. So
we can still go there. It could be a roasting session, but so like we've been in touch. We've seen each other for various years. What is like the one thing like that you've done in your, that you're doing or you've done in your career that you're like really impressed with?
Looking back, I guess maybe just I guess maybe it's my Yankee show. I guess just a little plug there. I do host a show called Section 420 Talking Yankees, and what just started out as like a little once a month little YouTube video, 5 minutes, is now like I got it on like multiple public access channels. I don't have like a huge following or anything.
I was actually just watching it before we started.
Yeah, there you go. So new follow. There you go. But it's just from where that transformed, and this like little things like little people send me a side comment here. Yeah, I watch it and stuff like that, and just to have like I go to a deli near me, and some guy that works there, he saw it 'cause it was on like the local Bronx public access channel. Probably a lot of Bronx here anyway.
I was gonna say like you're from the Bronx, right?
Yeah. No. Totally Texas accent, but I would say of all the things, maybe that, just because now it's going on like 5 years, which it just started off as like a little pet project, fun thing to do once a month. Wasn't taking it seriously, and it's become like this thing where similar to this, we're doing weekly Zoom interviews with stuff and trying to book guests and going through all that stuff and putting it together and the editing and all that stuff. So I would say of everything, that's probably the most, just because it's been going on for 5 years. And if you give me a few minutes, I could probably I could give you my porn credits and stuff, but we'll stick to the Section 420 Talking Yankees.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
What got you started on doing that?
Me and my friend were kind of like I've done some filming stuff with before. I think we're on a road trip to Pennsylvania to a train show, as exciting that is, and we're kind of like, hey, let's do something. So like, I don't know. So
you got like little model trains going around in your apartment?
Pretty much. Not me, him. He's the nut. But I usually go along. I'll buy something stupid for $5, but whatever. I just like the road. But yeah, we were just like, all right, let's do something. So all right. Well, I like baseball. We're in the Bronx, so 2 + 2 = 4. So just started out with that. Like I think in 2016, before the Yankees really got regenerated, because all right, they had a long run here, not to make it too much of a sports show, but then there was a period where like they had these big players, but a lot of them was over the hill and the team stunk. And so like 2016 really wasn't a great time to like jump on the Yankee train, but like that was the first season of the show. And then they had a good ending to that season. And then 2017, they had like a rebirth of all these stars you see now with Aaron Judge and Luis Severino and, Gary Sanchez and stuff like that. And now like everyone's on the Yankee train again, so I was
and they're not roided out anymore, which is also good.
There's a few roads in there, but I don't know, the players are still doing it surprisingly, but they're some are able to pass, but it's not as much roided as it was 15 years ago, definitely.
Yeah, some of those guys were just like unusually large. It was like, whoa, he's big boy.
Like,
listen,
what about stand-up comedy? Have you been doing much of that?
Not as much. I mean, probably even before the acting, I did dabble with that a little bit. The only, I mean, people say I should do it because I have kind of like a dry, sarcastic thing to it, and maybe I like do it. It's just like a lot of it is just sort of like, and I know a few, and it's a real hard hustle. It's just like it's not really how good you are. It's just like, all right, how many people can you bring? How many drinks can you sell? And you're like, and I hate bothering people just for normal things like, hey, come to my show tonight? Can you come to my show tonight? So I did go through one like course. This was like back again, maybe 2014, where at the end of the session, I did a live show at Caroline's on Broadway, which is a premier place. It's kind of a big thing. It was like a Sunday afternoon show, so it wasn't a huge crowd, but did it. Had a little 5-6 minute set. And then I did a few open, open mics they call them after that. But it's like you're doing stand up in front of other comics. It's like they'll give you some mercy laughs, not going to grill you because they are in the same boat. But after that, it's all like, all right, booking places, how many people can you bring? And I just hate bothering people. So that's kind of why I might get back into it, but I kind of shifted away from that and just kind of focus more on the acting world where it's just you show up, you get filmed. And even if you're working in the theater, it's fine. You just do your thing. If no one's in the seats, fine. But it's up to you. But stand-up comedy, it's just like, all right, how many drinks can you sell?
Yeah.
It's challenging in general. Anything that you're doing in the art form that you try to be like, look at me, mom. It's really tough to get people beyond your core base of like friends and family to show up. Unfortunately,
it's like holding an art gallery and getting people to show up to that too. At first, the first time it was like, please come.
I remember with A Line Between All Things. Now, thankfully, I remember it was like a twisted thing, but I know this ain't my moment. But we on the premiere night, people were slowly coming in the theater, and I remember like my girlfriend's father was like, where is everybody? And I was like, yeah, like they were all chilling in the party a minute ago. Like I had people like sifting them downstairs, like forcefully get in the theater, watch my movie. But it's tough. We're going to get into this stuff now. We got to get heavy. Okay, James, got to get. So, after seeing your projects, Adult Humans and Victor, which was hilarious, by the way, seems like you prefer comedy as the genre of choice. What do you find most rewarding or challenging about comedy?
I guess, rewarding is always making people laugh, and I probably like that more. And I think me and you are similar in some ways because I know some of your writing and some Adult Humans writing, there is some dark stuff in there. And I think that's what comes out. I didn't think initially, anytime someone starts writing first, you always want to write the world sucks and nasty stuff because I think I'm in the Bronx. You got some sirens back here? All right, they're gone.
That used to be my lullaby down in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Corny. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I have a bad corny. Once I got an ambulance, whatever. There's actually a senior citizen place up the block. I'll get right back to your question. That some person always pulls the emergency thing in the elevator. So like once every couple of days, I get like 5 fire trucks because they got to race there anyway because they know it's an old lady that probably hit the button or an old man, but they come anyway. Anyway, so getting back to the thing. So I say comedy's tougher because it's hard to like. All right, same thing. Stand up comedy, make me laugh. That's hard. That's probably hard to do. So when you could pull it off and get giggles, I think that's much more rewarding. So to answer your question, so yeah, I've seen Victor played at certain festivals, and I had a couple of places like one was some brewery in Staten Island, very small thing. They had like 30 people there, and it was like one of those things like it wasn't a full screen. It was like they pulled down I forgot what they call it. Thing they pulled down. They have a projector going against it, whatever screen. But it was a small thing. But the jokes hit. Everyone was laughing. I felt great. Yeah. On the other hand, the same film was last year at the Yonkers Film Festival. Big theater, legit theater in a public library, but like a legit 200-300 person theater, and it wasn't a big crowd at all. But like the jokes just weren't hitting, the people weren't laughing. It was just like, So if you could, it's hard to make people. So yeah, if you could pull off comedy, that's the best of the best. Because I think anything dark, you can always say the world sucks and kill people and things like that. That's kind of the easy way to do it, but comedy's definitely much more tougher.
I think there's another thing that comes into it is that like comics in general, from what I've seen, and I know like for me, comedy has always been kind of like a release for me. So I'm not like a disruptive class clown, but I definitely verge on the border of it sometimes. Occasionally I'm disruptive. But what did you find as far as like, was there any specific thing in your life that encouraged you to become a comic more so than anything else, or was it just kind of like something that you enjoyed and you wanted to get into?
Yeah, just naturally goofy. Like even since I was a kid, just in school, just drawing little funny pictures of stuff. I used to have one like a math teacher. Like it was like a first year of like algebra in 8th grade. I was just totally over my head. Here comes another siren. Told you.
Oh, is that the
What'd
police?
you do? They're coming for you.
I told you it's busy here. It's always something going down. Anyway. So it just naturally I like making people laugh. I always like drawing comics. Charles knows my Facebook comments, always messing around with people. So it's just, I think it's naturally just always been that way. So, that's what I always find more rewarding. And in my Yankee show too, I always try to make little mix little things. If I'm filming at Yankee Stadium, like I'll jump in, like, there's always like an empty cart that someone used for like recycling cans and then dumped. I'll use that as a prop. I'll sit in the cart and talk. So it's like, I make joke out of everything,
I personally like that. And that's like, I'm not just trying to like boost your ego here, but the way I see it, people's like Facebook, Instagrams, they should be like more like yours. I never really, you can do whatever you want in your own personal thing. I'm not censoring you, but for the most part, like it's an uplifting thing when you interact with your friends and stuff. And like, it doesn't, I'm pretty sure that you're opinionated about, you have some strong opinions about certain things in the world, but you're not looking to like ostracize your entire like family and friends and like cast them out like lepers. So I really do appreciate
how far is too far? How do you figure that out for your own comedy?
Well, I mean, certain things like I'm not like I know I always joke around being sexy, which is actually true, but I'm not into like really raunchy sex stuff, like that type of stuff, and like. Yeah, a little rated R, but I just keep it silly, more silly than like raunchy. Racial stuff, I really almost stay away from that just because, again, I could joke around about it. Someone could joke with me. I just don't know how other people feel about it. So I really don't push the lever there with that. And even like you said, just going back for, with Facebook and Instagram, like stuff, there's a million times where I could jump in and I've taken the bait a few times, but pretty much I just don't get in any discussions high level because these things are very complicated. You really need to sit for hours and talk. You can't just get it up in 2 sentences or show a meme. Hey, so-and-so, that proves it. That proves it. I have the meme. But like I said, I'm saying with Charles, I don't say, well, you shouldn't post. Whatever you want to do on your social medias, do it. I'm not going to judge people. If they want to use it for that purpose, use it for that purpose. I just rather, I think I saw, Charles, you had a post the other day. Wouldn't it be nice where Facebook is a place where we could chill out and just talk and not unload and just be a friendly place? God forbid.
God forbid. I'm ignorant, but listen, I love the person to death that posted that, the people I was fighting with, but people have strong opinions, I guess, to each their own. I knew that you were going to get some backlash whenever I said anything. I think when the beginning of this pandemic, none of us understood the gravity of it. We didn't realize that hundreds of thousands of people would die and other people would get it. And, it was how quick it spread. We didn't know. It was
supposed to go away after 2 weeks.
But on the second week, I was getting a little frustrated, as I think a lot of people were, when I couldn't wipe my ass with real toilet paper. I had to get creative. So at that time, I'm like, people need to,
drag it around.
Everyone on Facebook was a politician. Everybody on Facebook was a doctor, and even the scientists didn't know. And they still don't know what's going on. Yeah. And I was just like, stay in your lane, people. And I had so many comments that were like, this is, the Charles hour. It's not all about you, Charles. People are dying. It's all your fault. It's like, oh, sorry. But yeah, that's the type of stuff you get in when you take the bait and that's not my shtick. It's not what I want to do is debate people endlessly. Cause first of all, chances are if someone's going to debate you online, they got a lot of time on their hands and they're going to go on and on and on. And like the things that you want to do, you're not going to be able to do. And I myself, I fall victim to that many, many times and wasted countless hours of energy writing these, I could have wrote like 5 other books with the amount of times that I've been arguing with people. But anyways, we talk a lot about comedy, but will your fan base, will your people get to see James Zeiss tread out of your genre? Will you do something like, are you writing, or has it been an interest of you to, jump into something like drama, horror, science fiction, just something
a little different? I say of all of them, I meant maybe more drama. I never really had an interest in like gore horror. As a kid, maybe just, I like Jason, I like Michael Myers and all that stuff, but just to write it, like, unless I could come up with a cool, freaky character that, somehow comes from the dead and kills, I just don't have interest in that.
In a remake.
Yeah, and it probably been done before, and who knows, and so, yeah, I don't have an interest in that. Sci-fi, again, you had a period there I was like big on Star Trek. I just don't see myself going so I don't know if I'd branch in those areas, but I would probably something more dramatic. I am working on one thing right now in a pre-production. It's going to be a micro short. It's going to be more in a comedy thing. Don't want to give too much of the details ready because there's a lot to work out. It may not even happen. Who knows? These things could drop.
What exactly makes it a micro short? I've heard of a short, but I mean, like how short?
It's like basically it's like, and it really, I mean, I don't know the definition. Anywhere from like 1 to 3 minutes. So it's almost like when you watch like a Super Bowl commercial. It's a little longer than a commercial, but it's like a little mini story. But there's a lesson learned. But it's well done and well shot. So kind of working that with someone else I've filmed some stuff with in the past, and basically it's a gender role reversals of girls picking up guys and guys picking up girls. Again, not going to get into all details, but kind of working on that. Again, probably got to wait until the whole COVID thing chills a little bit because we have to rent out a place and, make sure we don't, feel weird bringing people to a place where they may get sick. So working on that. So I guess, it's still kind of comedy technically. And then another one working on a private investigator type of story, but might have to switch that around too because it's similar to something else I just found out about, but that's probably still in the comedy. So I'm still kind of staying in the comedy lane. I don't know if I'm ready to branch out yet. If I do, it'd be more to something more dramatic. If I ever go there, but really drama. I think let's get back to filming and acting. Kind of tough. Yeah, I feel like comedy, like the drama to really pull it off, the actor's got to be sharp and good. Otherwise, it falls flat. Comedy a little bit, even if the actors don't hit the things the right way or if it just doesn't come out right. Since it's comedy lighthearted, you do have a little leeway there. Because if you have drama that doesn't work or the actor's not believable in drama, it just falls flat. Whereas even the actors just whatever, or even the lines suck, blame the writer, whatever it is, you could kind of get away with it a little bit comedy because you can have a little slapstick to make up for it, or the person could be so serious but it's stupid so it's funny. But drama, like if you're gonna write that or film that, it's got to be executed well. Otherwise, the audience, they're gonna smell BS in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've myself have put myself in roles that I couldn't accomplish, and yikes. And part of it for me, I found, like I was telling you before, I found comedy to be extremely challenging. Like, do I look funny? Are these reactions? And I feel like the reason is when a lot of people do comedy, they overact. They kind of turn into like the stage present when they're doing a film. I know a lot of actors that have done that, and myself included. Like, I feel like, oh, when I'm doing comedy, we got to be more exaggerated. When realistically, most comedy we laugh at is like natural, like a natural reaction to something that's.
It's that quiet comment from the side where you're like, did he just say that?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it is more of the situation's funny. Like if you play it straight, like with Victor, everything's played straight. No one's really goofy, but what makes it funny is the whole thing's obscene. The story itself, it's just everyone plays it straight, and these mock interviews set up are all real, and everyone's serious about it. That's what makes it silly. So no one really has to like overact and overthink. That's kind of what, like I said, makes up for it. But yeah, I think in comedy, maybe if you try to be too flat slapstick funny, it's like, yeah, okay, then you kind of lose it. So that's why I feel comedy, you don't have to be that dramatic actor to pull it off. Or in drama, you got to be good, like super good.
One of my gripes with the film, Victor, was the fact that I felt like that could have been a feature film. It brought me home for a sense. I took an acting class years ago in college, and I remember like it started off with like learning, pantomiming and miming and interpretive dance. And a lot of the stuff that, I was witnessing, I was like, I remember this. And I remember how like outrageous I felt I looked. But then like afterwards, like when the, professor would give me like feedback. He'd be like, well done. And I thought I was making a total ass of myself. He's like, well done. You knew exactly what you were supposed to do. And I felt like, damn, like you were me in a moment. That was me in my early 20s, like, you know, interpretive dancing around the stage and having the professor bravo me from the distance. But,
yeah. With that, it was almost like, again, it would have been nice to do features. Just, you know, obviously you need more locations, you need more people, more time. So it kind of had to condense into short. I actually had the mockumentary part of that in my head already. It's just I needed something else. So then, you know, to give it away. But obviously, there's part of the movie that's real. There's a serious thing going on underneath it all, which is like very undescripted, and you don't know until the very end. That part took me a while to develop, and so what happened is actually I was at a bar one time. I was still like thinking, like I still need that. Like I got the mockumentary. That's how funny, but I need something else. And then an older gentleman sat next to me, you know, a couple stools down, just like an old timer that's at the bar and stuff like that. Like kind of a cagey type of old fella, you know. So that kind of gave me like, you know what? How about a young guy next to an old time thief, you know? And the old thief teaches the young guy. So that kind of like just that moment, I looked at him and was like, bang, got it. And then day or two later, I wrote you know, obviously it's a 15-minute film, so it was like 12 pages. I wrote it in like 2 days, and you know, from there, just started planning the filming and casting and stuff.
So when you get into these processes of like writing, what is your process? Like what does it take really? Like you just came up with the concept, and you just scribbled down, like you brainstorm the beginning of the end, or do you kind of surprise yourself as a writer and like you don't kind of know where this journey is going to take you?
And what do you do when you feel blocked?
No, it's some good questions. So really with me, I don't hit anything to paper until I got the story. Like I've done it probably more in the past years ago, where I would start a project and just lose faith in it halfway. And I just feel like, oh God, I can't believe how many nights and weeks I wasted. So what I've been doing recently, I've been thinking more about the filming of it than the actual writing. So when I'm writing, even before pen hits the paper, first I have the whole story in my head. And once I have the story in my head, I'm thinking, all right, what locations do I have? Who can I get this? And, you know, so forth. So I'm thinking about more the people and the locations more even before the story. So because, you know, I can write a great story, but I don't have access to an airplane. So that's not in it, you know? So like, for example, we'll go to Victor, but first adult humans. All right, what can I get? I don't know, a hotel room. All right, well, you can rent out a hotel room. So what goes in hotel rooms, in shady hotel rooms, you know, what goes on there. So the story developed really from there, you know, with Victor. All right, where can I shoot this? All right, we can rent out a dance studio. I wanted to really feature New York, so we could guerrilla some stuff in Lincoln Center and Carnegie Hall and stuff like that. There's a beach near me, we could shoot some stuff. So it was really more about the locations. Once I had the locations, and even more adult humans, I actually had every person in mind I wanted for that as I wrote it, and they all, once it was written, they all agreed to do it. Same with Victor. I pretty much had everyone in mind except 1 or 2, which I had to cast after but. So I have these people in my head. I know what they look like. I know what they sound like. So like something like Sutton or Andrew, I've been on set with them. I know what they could do. I know what their voice sounds like. So as I'm writing this, I'm actually have them ready in my head, all ready to go. So I got the locations in my head, I got the story in my head, and I got the people I want in my head. And it just and then once you go, then I got the story. So don't really get much writer's block.
You think?
Yeah. I really do. I appreciate the realistic approach, because you know what? Unlike you, when I'm writing, for the most part, I write myself into problems. Like I write personally myself. I'm surprising myself, like, you know, Savior. Yeah, let's kill Buck off real quick. I didn't know that was gonna happen. But you know, like things happen when I'm writing, and like I'll write locations. Like for example, we wrote a screenplay years ago called The Way. To this day, no matter if I had $1 million budget or whatnot, I don't even know how I would accomplish half those things. But I tend to be overly ambitious. And as I've matured over the years, I'm starting to like, you know, hanker down to reality, to like what is possible to make look good. You know, maybe not having like a siege with like militants and stuff was so simple to accomplish with the factory, or, you know,
Animal Fest in a field.
Yeah, like I've had a lot of challenging moments because I've created them, and I feel like your way possibly of doing them, well, the professional way, is to know what you can actually accomplish with the time, budget, and you know your certain circumstances that you're doing.
Yeah,
So
and also just being an actor and stuff like that. You get a sense of like what sounds good. Again, I've gotten stuff where you read lines like this doesn't sound real, it sound official. So it helps. I think also on the acting side, just know how actors work. They don't give 3-page speeches. All right, you do that in theater, but in real life, no one gives a 3-page speech. Someone's going to punch you in the face after 30 seconds. So just keep things short, and I think it helps with the writing because again, I've been on the other side where I've gotten scripts and stuff like that, and it's just like this doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel real. So again, I could still write something that's terrible, but it just I think having the acting background as well, just because I know how other actors act, I know how other actors remember lines and stuff like that, so it kind of helps actually in the writing process as well because I want to make things easy on them because I know how it feels to get something that's okay, this flows good versus getting something like this is clunky or this is not. No one would talk like this.
And what do you do? Like, I mean, I'm sure like anybody else, like when you're writing, you probably have one or two that just the joke that you thought was going to be funny was just like a complete flop. Like, what do you do to like kind of regroup after that, or is it just kind of par for the course for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I just write and just you tweak things, but again, you don't until it's on the film and stuff or people react to it, or you just don't know how it's gonna if the joke's gonna hit or not. But but obviously when you're writing, I think you get in your own head a little bit. Oh, that's funny, that's great. It's there's that, and when you see it, you just no one else is laughing. You're like kind of okay, that fell flat. And it's just you roll the punches on it.
James is a master at this. He's being very humble right now, but like working with James as far as like Irony Catharsis, he played a character, a sleazy business character named Steve. And I remember like we had a party sequence and, he's a type that he's not afraid to, show his true colors or get really into character. Like we didn't see James for a while because he was too busy, putting Coke on his nose and writing slut on his forehead, tie around his neck. So when he came out with a big cigar in his mouth, like that wasn't scripted. He rolled with the punches and created the character what he interpreted to be as sleazy as possible. And I enjoyed it but it's all about like, I guess, feeling the character.
Yeah, I was going to say like, again, let's get between comedy and drama. Like obviously some with drama, I wouldn't even try that, but like Irony Catharsis, I don't, it's funny. I never saw it as a full comedy, but not a full drama, but something where absurd things could happen. So it's like that wasn't out of place, and it just felt natural, and it went with it. Whereas go back to Factory, I forgot my doctor's name, but I was kind of uptight, snivelly stuff like that. So that's why I always had the tie and a bow tie, very subtle but not outrageous because it fit that, which was pure. That was just pure, more of a drama thing, even though there were some comedic moments. But I don't think it does. I just liked it because it just felt like it was just like. In a way, you could say it was lighthearted. I mean, there was some major issues, but it was kind of like a fun, lighthearted thing in a way. And just, obviously what we did with Bruce and there's a fist and I won't get into that, but it was just like it was
it's funny because a lot of these movies stem from like little moments or little things that I seen. Like if I was to say like anything isn't stemmed from nothing, I just pulled it out of thin air. That would be a lie. I mean, I was talking to Stefan last week on the podcast and saying how an entire screenplay for The Factory was based on, a commercial for like a sleeping aid and how there was side effects at the end of it. So like that inspired me to be like, what side effects, man, like something that could change your life, that you have terrible side effects, hypnosis and all this other stuff that could possibly go wrong. And then with Savior, this is like, at the tail end of Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad just ended. Everybody was like obsessed over Walter White and like thinking about what type of crime drama can we create. And then I just happened to be scrolling around and I remember there's an indie film called Hesher with Joseph Gordon-Levitt that he was so bonkers in that movie as like a rock star, like, whatever. I guess his whole entire character could have been interpreted as dead. But
character or the other one?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt in that movie Hesher. But I remember when I was writing, I was like, man, what if I made this really like funny comedy? And I wanted it to be really funny, but had like these really deep, dark moments that like changed the whole plot basically. And it necessarily didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but at the same time, like that's where like my inspiration was coming from. When you're writing, what writers or people in general, they could be living, dead, they don't have to be famous, but like what inspires you, who inspires you, to like challenge yourself?
Sure. I don't like make it into the people. I just like a cool story. Like just I just like certain things, sequences, and I think I build from there. So it's not like really a character. For example, if you, like Victor, really in a way, it's a heist film and underneath it. So I like crime. I like crime things. I like crime dramas in that great in that area. So I kind of build a story. All right, what can you steal? All right, well, robbing a bank, money's typical. Jewelry, but a Fabergé egg, it's a little different. So, can you do like, robberies basic, anyone could do robbery, but what's different? Fabergé egg. And so I like the concept more than thing. Go back to Adult Humans, someone who goes around rescuing animals and dogs, specifically pit bulls and dogs like that. I like that someone who does that. All right, so can I build a story out from that? So it's not really characters, it's just things, people doing things more, and then kind of, all right, so who's this guy? I could create this person and then build the story around that. So it's just more about things that happen and actions that kind of build the story more than actual people or live or real events,
Okay. I mean, like, for the most part, like, we all have our favorite, like, director, I think. I mean, is there, like, any, like, directors in general that you, like, man, I wish my movies could be, like, him?
You're like,
stay avoid from him.
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau.
Get yourself in trouble by saying anything, though.
Yeah, I'm not a big follower. I guess, like, the gold standard, you would say, is, like, probably Kubrick, just because he's, like, intense, and I just like the way that he didn't just make a million films. He just did a film like once every 4 or 5 years. So I just like, that's like the only person where I would revere. Obviously, I would respect Spielberg just because he's like the king of kings, and I like Clint Eastwood just because he's like, he did the whole full transition from actor to director, and once in a while still does a role. So I would say, Kubrick, Spielberg, and Eastwood. I like those three. Again, as long as it's something like, let's say Eastwood puts out a movie like The Mule, whatever, whether they got good reviews or not, I'm gonna go see it because it's Clint Eastwood. Just for respect, and he's like almost 90 years old and he's still like doing the stuff.
Yeah,
but of all of them, Kubrick, I think, because his movies are just like in a world of their own. They're all different, but they're bizarre in a certain way, and he does these funky shots. And again, I just like the way he just doesn't milk it. Like, he doesn't do something unless this is the story I want, and whereas even someone like Spielberg, he's great, but like, he feels like he just does a movie every 1 or 2 years just for, I need another $50 million. I'm just doing another movie. Whereas Kubrick's like, he wants his story has to be perfect. I guess I respect him more for that. Just being very meticulous of what stories he does.
It is challenging. Like, I have this conversation with people all the time that it's tough when you're doing indie films or any project in general, and a long time has passed, because people either think that you're no longer in the loop, and then your base of supporters dwindles. For the longest time, people like, because my core people that I originally started with had changed over the years. So people in general just assume that I don't make films anymore because of that. But it's tough because you're always trying to push stuff out. And sometimes we let things slide because of that. So,
yeah,
it goes to that.
Yeah, and think about Kubrick also, like, every movie was like a 4-star movie. It wasn't like, you put out something and just bombed. It was like really good. I mean, there was some better than others, but he used to do, he would basically, his like assistant would give him like a stack of books, and he would read them, and if you would get bored with them, you'd throw them. Throw them. And there's actually a YouTube video of films that he never made that he wanted to. It's interesting, but yeah, again, if it wasn't the right project, go forward with it. He wouldn't do it. And I saw myself just, getting what you say, Charles, having that zest, that drive. I think so much goes into making film that once you're done, yeah, sure, you like to keep going, you have more stories to tell, but all the planning you had to do and the energy that goes into it, it's almost like it beats you down a little bit, where you're not really thrown into wanting to make one right away, just because, all the resources you got to do to get that. And so, you take a beat, it beats you up a little bit. And like, yeah, you might have these great stories, but like, I have to go through this whole thing again. I have to cast people. I have to get their locations. I got to make these phone calls. People are going to cancel on me. And so it's like, it kind of like jades you a little bit. So,
yeah.
So that's probably why, I think for me, the Victor was like 2 years ago. And, at least I'm hoping 2021 I can at least have 1, maybe 2 things in, but may not happen just because of COVID or just people got other things going on. It might fall flat, so we'll see. But hopefully, at least one thing in 2021.
Fingers crossed. What is it? Fingers crossed. But I mean, like, yeah, I would never push anything, and I would try not to. But it's tough when you're trying to keep people entertained and stay in the game, as you say, because every time I feel like you go to film festivals or workshops or whatnot, you meet other people, you meet other connections, and other opportunities arise, and it's kind of like, look at what I did, like, so it is tough to.
It's a surprisingly small community. Like, after you go to a couple of them, you're like, wait a second, I remember you.
It's a over time, like, you kind of sift through the people that, we were talking about, like, in the beginning of this conversation, people that you have like interests with. It's easier to, mingle with and stuff like that and keep on going. So we all got to kind of like support our members of the community and like push each other to, do their thing and do it well and give them constructive criticism when they're slipping. But there's a lot of doubters out there that I don't know what it is, but there's so many people out there that like, you should quit or like, keep on going. I enjoy seeing everything. Like, on another side note, for me, when I was writing my book, a lot of things I was afraid to push forward. And I just, whatever it was with the film festival, I happened to look through your bio one day and I seen that you had wrote, 2 books that were semi-autobiographical. And I remember you told me about them. You signed me a copy. You sent it to my house, which was great.
Worth millions.
There is some really funny stories in here and really like interesting stories in both books. There's a few in particular I want to talk about, but for the most part, you sending me these in a way inspired me to self-publish my book, because I sent it to a few people and their reaction was, jarring. Not saying it was bad, but I felt like, once it's out there, it's out there. Everyone. And so I even at one point I thought, maybe I should publish my screenplays. People do that on Amazon and publish the stuff that they didn't release. But it's always the fear of like, what will the professionals think, or what will, and the fact that you did that fearless move, it kind of, like I said, inspired me to do it. So bravo to you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the copies.
Oh, yeah.
But for those of you guys listening and who will listen later, we got Something and Nothing at All. And we have the sequel, or part 2, as you say.
How long did it take you to write each one?
More of the same old crap.
I would say it might be a little more than a year for the first one. And as Charles said, it's not really like a linear timeline of beginning to end. It's literally just random stories pulled out of different places. And I got to give some credit. I really, Semi got the idea from Johnny Cash. I think one of his, might have been his second to last book he wrote. He was basically, and it took him a number of years, he was basically on tour on his bus. And anytime a story came to his head, he just wrote it. Again, no sequence, no timeline. Just like, he'd be in the middle of like Nebraska and somewhere. It's like, oh yeah, remember that time I was in Jamaica in 1965, and he'll just tell a story. So I like that idea of just random stories. So kind of a little inspiration from that. So basically what I did is I had a Microsoft Word document, and anytime I felt like writing one of these stories, whether I was at home, sometimes I'll be in the library doing something else, like, hey, let me just write this story. And after might have been a year and a half of just collecting all these stories, and after a while, I kind of scrolled the page, like, wow, I got like 100 pages worth of stuff here. And then I didn't try to sell or anything. I knew I was going to self-publish it whenever it was going to get done. So, but yeah, it was probably about a year of just collecting stories. The second one, since I kind of knew what I was writing, I think I did it 2015, like 2 years later, the sequel. It was the same. Well, since I kind of knew what I was doing and kind of the forming it together, that probably maybe took about 3 or 4 months of writing, just because, and plus just being on sets and involved in the acting world, stuff like that, just probably had some more stories to tell. So I kind of put together. So the first one probably took about a little over a year. The second one maybe took about 3 or 4 months.
And it's an easy read, people. Like, I'm not saying it's like unintelligent, because I feel like there's more to each story than I don't even know if you attempted to write, because like there's a few stories in general, like Tweety Bird. When I read Tweety Bird, I don't know if you necessarily intended it for it to be like a thought piece or anything that could be like the silver linings in a bad situation. You're laughing, but there's a lot of stories in here that I feel like have like, oh, You know, when people, I don't want to say when people read the Bible. When people read the Bible, they interpret things differently. But did you intend when writing some of these stories, like Tweety Bird, elderly lady, lunch lady, right? And something terrible happens where her clothes get full of food. But the good thing is, I don't want to give it away, but you know, it's the whole book. There's a lot of stories here.
Yeah, don't give it away. I want to read it.
It was just it's one. There's literally some of these stories are like a couple paragraphs, and others are a few pages. So it's an easy read if you pick up a few each night or one a day. Take one a day, James Zeiss. I think it's really good. But like I said, you didn't intend for them to have those uplifting meanings. There's a lot of the stories, even like Eyeballs. There was a story Eyeballs about the snowball fight where someone took it to the next level. I'm that kid. I'm not a psychopath. But I'm that kid who would like throw a little bit of ice and stuff and whack. Like that's me. But I don't know.
That the stories weren't made
when they tell you not to.
Yeah, but I was saying like the stories weren't meant to have any redeeming value. It's just like this what happened. Take it as it is. Like some are just gross. Some are meant to be funny. Like the Tweety Bird lady again. Yeah, but I'll just give it away. The door closes like on a lunch and she gets it splattered all over her. A little more to it, but. It's just, hey, that happened. I witnessed it. I'm just sharing the story with you. Make it of your wish. I try not to be any moral stuff like that, or teach any lesson. It's just these are the things that go on in the real world that maybe you don't see on TV or no one talks about. Everyone has their stories. Everyone has their experience. So I'm saying it's not meant to like. Maybe that's why it comes through. It just comes through easy. That it's just a story. This what happened. Hey,
I think, but it's a good thing about stories. They could be felt by different people different ways. And the thing that you even wrote on the very back of the book, this one line that you wrote tells it all. Kind of like no matter basic. So you basically wrote. I'm paraphrasing, so I'm not going to read it to you guys. But no matter what happens in life, the small things out of everyday life are what we take for granted, and these little stories. I feel like any reason why someone would write a book is there's these moments they don't want to ever forget and they want to like share with others, and whether they're entertaining or not, because like we all remember like sitting around a campfire telling these stories, but as time goes on we happen to add a few moments, things that might not have happened, or add new characters into the dilemma. But I feel like I think it's great, it's entertaining. I think years from now, personally, on a personal level, writing your own stories or sharing them with others will be more important to you and your family. And because I wish for me, people that have, are no longer here did something like this. And I had a moment to reflect on their life for a minute, things that I didn't know. And, this is, to me, it's just something that's pretty awesome. And I think more people should do. And it's really entertaining, people. What's the trilogy?
I don't know. I have to collect more life experiences. I don't know if I'd write another book again. I might do something a little more like kind of what you did. Just constructive in terms of like, telling a story, but also giving feelings and explaining things a little bit more versus just bleh, So I don't know if I do another one, which I don't have planned. I don't think it'll be in that same style because I feel like I kind of just ran the course with that, even though I probably still have some more stories to tell, but. It's a little different when you're older and you know more people, and so it's like you got to be dicey. I shouldn't tell that story. When you're a kid, you could call out your buddy Billy, like, all right, we're 12 years old, who cares, But it's a little different when you're older. So I don't know if I do one in that style. But again, it's something and nothing at all, and then more of the same crap. And again,
find it on Amazon.
Exactly. And I didn't think a couple of people bought copies. I just did it for me. It's like, all right, I have something published. I just did it. It's something on the bucket list.
I think it definitely is something to be proud of. There's a lot of people out there that like, I never would have knew. I got feedback from total strangers like, hey, reading my inspiring somebody or just reading. And I'm sure you've gotten things over the years where people like, they're referencing Eyeballs to you.
Yeah, like that. But just in general, a lot of people just shocked. Like, I could publish. I could do this. Like, yeah, you could do it. You don't need to. And I had a lot of people like they all, and they kind of a lot of them in the same boat. Like they have a story they want to tell, but they don't want to do it. It's like, you could do it. Just do it. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, now this is the time period where you just run with things. But what I would say is be wary of what you run with. Like the one thing I give kudos to your book is it's a book. It feels like a book. It's it's not like something like when people first talk about Amazon and self-publishing, they thought of people's like raw materials, and some people do. I've read books that I'm shocked that they self-published. I'm like, what is this? They didn't put the time and effort into like editing the thing properly, and then just throw it out there. Take it.
There's all the little tricks on getting to the top of the list and all this. There's a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, it's tough, but something happened.
Killed James. I died.
Oh, I don't know. Something accidentally happened. But when getting into a character, we're gonna jump back into this little character thing. And we're gonna get into some fun other topics too. We're just gonna go, okay, James?
All night. I'm here all night.
What is your process routine in getting into character? Are you like the Daniel Day-Lewis, playing Abraham Lincoln, living in a cabin for 6 months? Leonardo DiCaprio, eating like raw live liver, of a bison for the Revenant. What is it?
Nutritious.
I'll try bison one time. I did a buffalo burger once, but yeah, I don't go like those deep like method stuff. I just I look at the script. I look at the words, the way the character says it, and then I kind of then I'll think of, all right, what does he dress like? And obviously Steve from Irony Catharsis and that party, it's a party. He's gonna be off his bonkers wall because the guy just says weird crap. So I kind of go from there. I don't get into the I gotta live it to be that character. And I've been in a couple of plays with like some theater actors, and literally like before the performance, they're sitting in a chair like this. Or there's one guy he was like some of that stuff happens backstage.
That's like Tai Chi and cocaine.
Exactly. Just know your lines and do it. Like, again, if that helps someone, then that's what they got to do. I don't get into that stuff where I got to be it and I got to live it and I got to taste it. What's my lines? How do I sound like with the other actor? What do I look like? And take it from there. And, have a few rehearsals and hopefully we get something, good on camera.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be controversial, but like if you have to actually experience certain things, to me, I don't want to say not a good actor, but Leonardo DiCaprio is a good actor, but like when he won for The Revenant, and there's scenes where he's chowing down, a warm bison liver fresh out of a bison and he's puking his guts out really on camera. I mean,
the movie was amazing.
He was puking his guts out because it was disgusting.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the movie gets a lot of the praise because of the cinematography. But
I know
he did a lot, and non-verbal acting as well. I'm not saying it wasn't good, but I'm saying if you got to take yourself, receive injuries from a performance too. What was that?
Sorry, there was a lag. I said he's also very wise with his choices too, like the way he goes about it. Like there's a small number of actors and writers that they don't take every role that comes their way, and they only choose very specific ones, and those tend to be the ones that are constantly winning awards.
Yeah, I mean that's the case, but sometimes I get a little bored of it too. Like when Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio team up for every movie he's made in the last 15 years. I mean, I love them together, but it's kind of like when you see Johnny Depp put on makeup. It's we want to see Johnny Depp face for now. I want to see what he really looks like at this point. It's some actors get themselves in a comfortable position. And I don't know why we're getting into this topic, but to me, I like when somebody switches it up. Like when you see, for example, when you seen Tropic Thunder and Tom Cruise was playing that ridiculous character in that movie. I didn't know it was Tom Cruise till the very ending. I was just Tom Cruise did that. And he gets a lot of hate, but the dude does his own stunts, and he still looks like he's 30.
Yeah,
in his 50s, right?
No, yeah. I saw some some going back to the memes. I think he's only a few years older than Wilford Brimley from Cocoon, and Wilford Brimley looks absolutely terrible, and Tom Cruise is in better shape than most 25-year-olds. That's just insane.
So with that said, are you endorsing Scientology?
Yes, I want to get famous. I want to be famous in Hollywood, so I'm going to say, yeah, I'll join tomorrow if I could be not. Yeah, if they want to recruit me.
You tried one of those little machines yet?
Oh yeah, take my temp. Yeah, they're always when you get off the subway, they're like, sir, you want to take your blood pressure? Yeah, sure. Let me give you, and then you get sucked into that. Yeah, if I could get an Academy Award and stuff like that, or millions of dollars, yeah, I'll join tomorrow. For that.
Yeah. So okay. we're on some real serious topics now. Batman or Superman?
I gotta say Batman, because it's easy to like to punch someone's face off, but like to have the gadgets and you're not really superhuman. You got to be smart and cagey to rely on them. And plus Superman's like, hey dude, what are you doing? Like that outfit, it's like, I don't know, like Batman's like, all right, he's got the bat, he's got the cape. Like Superman's like in a leotard, and it's just he's got his like bulge sticking out. It's just, I don't know.
That's what's like, all right.
To be fair, so does Batman.
Listen, but there's a billionaire bulge, and then there's
Yeah.
just a god bulge.
Yeah.
I'll take the billionaire bulge.
$1 billion, no one really cares.
But Batman needs that because like he's jumping off a building, needs some cushion there. So it might not be the bulge; it just might be like the outside plexi, the armor. So this might be like some fake armor that's bent like that, you know.
True.
T-Rexes or colossal raptors?
I gotta say T-Rex. Raptor's like a pain in the ass. It's like, you know, like that's like Jurassic Park. They nip your heels, they nip on the side. Like T-Rex is just by himself. He doesn't need any tag team
like
partners.
The king of like
He's a loner.
the king.
Yeah, it's like a lion versus hyenas. You know, the lion. You know, easily.
Good answer. Will Ferrell or Jim Carrey?
It's tough. I don't know. I think Jim Carrey's just fallen off too much of the face of the earth. He's just become too out of whack. So if you would ask me this maybe 20 years ago, I would say Jim Carrey. But I'm going to go more Will Ferrell. Just more of a consistency type of guy. Doesn't take himself too seriously in selling his
He's
art.
not quoting poetry every 5 seconds like Carrie is.
You know what,
Yeah.
though? The reason why I like Jim Carrey is
I love him.
I love Jim Carrey beyond like the political and like him like being like this like philosopher now. The idea that he's so good in dramatic and, you know, comedic roles. Like when I seen him in like what the hell was it? Eternal Sunshine or The Truman Show or Man on the Moon, they kind of like throw you for a loop. And
that was
see him with the comedy.
I was like, that's not.
Yeah, like I wasn't expecting that from somebody who was making ridiculous faces and like me, myself, and Irene, like choking out a cow or liar, liar, writing on the desk. Like, I don't know.
I'm amazed at things that man can do with his face. Like, it's not normal.
No, like if you look at his impressions for like the Johnny Carson show on YouTube. No, I say talent wise, he's great. It's just like, all right, who would I want? Like, let's say each of them put out a movie right now. Which one I'd rather see? I'd just rather see Will Ferrell at this moment. Just again, because he has like kind of that stupid. Again, he doesn't have to go over the top to be funny. He could just be he's like the straight, you know, typical American dad, but you know he makes it funny. Again, Jim Carrey. Again, talent-wise, he's more talented than Will Ferrell. But just right now, just the two of them, the way they are, I'd just rather see a Will Ferrell movie right now than a Jim Carrey.
To add to that, though, even with Will Ferrell, I actually did see him in a couple dramatic roles as well, which a lot of people don't know about. I think it was called Everything Must Go. He gets divorced from his wife, and he's an alcoholic. And literally, he's having a yard sale and like selling all his memories off, which is like, I don't know, it's different. I enjoyed it. It was a different type of movie from him. So I really appreciate that.
Serious roles.
What's that?
I didn't realize that he had done any serious roles.
Well, it's like Adam Sandler, and the tragedy that is the fact that he didn't get an Oscar for last year's Uncut Gems blows my mind. The fact that the directors of that film, I forget their names, but they also did a movie called Good Time with the guy who's playing Batman now. They call him Shovelface, like from Twilight.
Yeah, I know Robert something. I think. I know you're talking about.
But that movie was also incredible, and they're like both really high pace. But like I said, Adam Sandler in that movie. If you haven't seen it, and he's been in a few different dramatic roles, like Reign Over Me, and there was another one where he had like bipolar disorder. But he also could change it up. People don't realize that Adam Sandler is a really good actor as well.
Most of his roles have a good mix between serious and comedic, and then sometimes just downright insane. Like even when you watch what was it, like Switch, I think that was the name of it, where they had the remote control that controlled time. Like that movie was really good, but there were a few parts in it that were you're like, oh wow, that was pretty.
Yeah, I mean, he felt what it is he got a big giant paycheck from Netflix, and they just like pump out some shit, like mega shit, and that's exactly what he did. Jack and Jill, and like some wedding movies, and
yeah, they got a run there of this. Like again, I think that probably was more his reputation. So when he does come good to Uncut Gems, they're just gonna like overlook it or just not, give him his due. Because again, he had a bunch of movies like that where like this, bleh. Or he did like again, going back to Netflix, some like Halloweenish movie this past year that also came out. It was like straight to Netflix, and it was just like it was in it. And it was just like, what are you doing, dude? You know, it's like.
Well, that's what happens when like you get money. Like when you don't, I feel like a lot of the great talent and a lot of the good stuff you say, like, yeah, there's great movies that come out, but like when you see like really like starving artists, like people really they're hungry and they're like they got some new fresh ideas. That's when you see some awesome stuff. Like just doing the independent film festival and you're seeing all the movies come in and you're seeing like this really out of the box type stuff.
Yeah,
it's inspiring
by all the trends that is in Hollywood right now.
The sequels, the biopics, you can go on forever, really. But like when you're writing, like what, especially now we're in this PC culture, political correctness. We're going to cancel you if you offend us. How do you write comedy in such chaotic times?
I think it can, as long as you like don't, you just don't cross the line. Again, you have to have those boundaries, whether it's racial, sexual, and again, there's going to be a new set of jokes you probably can't make now that you could do years ago, and it's just so you just got to like have that sense where like, all right, is it funny, but am I really like making someone feel like dirt? You don't want to do that. So like, we all know the typical jokes of certain, whether it's racial and sexual stuff like that. So you can still be funny. Like, you don't have to be like too up, but it's like, am I really putting someone down? Like they make them feel like they're dirt. And if, the answer is no, then all right, you could let it go. It's comedy. But if you feel like, you're really demeaning something like they're less of a human being or something like that, then it's like, all right, you know what? It's this too far, or, it's just a little too much.
Yeah. What would you say to new rising talent looking to get started in acting, writing, filmmaking? What would you advise them?
I would just say, just get started and do it. Cause like you could get big quick, like I think a lot of people just hesitate. Like, oh, I got to take these classes first. I got to get my headshots first. I got to get my reel first and all that stuff. It's just like, you could do it tomorrow. Like you really don't have to take a film class at like a New York Film Academy or, SVA, something like that. You could get started now. Sure, technical stuff. It's good to know the technicalities of this shot, a wide shot, and a 30 lens and a 50 lens and all that stuff like that. But just get started and just do it and network. Me, Charles, the great example. Do something together 5-6 years ago. Now we're still in communication, and maybe you have a project coming up in the future, and I get invited, or maybe vice versa, or we're doing a show, or maybe 2 years from now we do a podcast together. Who knows? It's just like. I would say just get started right away and just pump stuff out there and just get going, and again, you could film stuff on like, you don't need professional equipment. You could, in terms of like any big cameras, anything crazy, stuff is very affordable. You could put it out there and there's this different media.
With one of these.
Exactly. So I say just get started, put some content out there and start getting your name out there, and you'll just get mixed, you'll just get in the mix, basically. That's the short of it.
Very inspiring. Very, very inspiring. What are your thoughts on the universe? Are we alone?
Probably, because I think if someone was going to make contact with us or something, they would have done it already or something. So, again, we don't know how it goes as far as it goes, but the fact that...
Here's my theory. They probably saw us dropping the nuclear bombs and be like, oh, they're finishing themselves off already, so let's just leave them be.
Could be, but you would think at this point... This question brought to you by Seltzer. You would think at this point, like we would have discovered like some like small ant on like Jupiter or something. So I don't know. Like unless there's that whole other galaxy out there of some stuff, I think it's just us. And for some reason, we're alive on our planet. Who knows why? But it's probably a 1 of a billion chance. But somehow we made it.
We got a really tough one coming up next. Where do you think Bigfoot is hiding? The fact that they can't get a good picture of Bigfoot, yet we can get the oceans on Mars. That all the pictures we have of Bigfoot are like some flip phone type 90s shit.
Clearly, he's in Queens. He's in. He got a haircut.
He was in the subway.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's things in the subway that actually Bigfoot looks cleaner than half the people that in the subway. So
You gotta love it when they come in the car and they're like, "Excuse me, everybody, I don't want to be a problem to take your attention. Please
but
pay money."
I one time a couple of years ago, before obviously when trains were normal and there was people on it, there was literally like a train of beggars. So literally a door would open. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, once that like door from subway to subway car opens, it's bad news. It's bad news when that door opens. Either someone's going to come and beg for money, or someone's going to come with a knife or something. Like when that thing opens, it's never good news in that door. So as soon as you hear that thing slide, your head turns. So there's one time it was like, "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen," blah blah blah. He left. Literally a minute later, door opens again. "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen." There must have been like 4 of these guys in a row. And like got to the point by the third or fourth guy, everyone started laughing because I mean it's kind of sad too. There's so many people out there begging for money, but.
Have you ever seen them get territorial over which car they're in?
Not really that. I mean, it seems like they chill together sometimes. It's weird.
Sometimes
like
they do, but I've seen them like, yo, this is my car. What you doing?
Yeah, I've seen like sometimes like they'll be buddies and they'll like argue over a cigarette. Like they'll get pissed off over a cigarette like that. But I see like they seem like they take a car. Like, all right, that's your bench there. This is your bench there. Obviously, the whole car reeks, so no one could ever go in it. But I never seen. I never seen a fight over.
Not like a real fight, but like I got off the car one time and I saw the one guy. This was a different occasion, but I saw the one guy got out and goes, "Hey, did you make any money today?" No, me neither. All right, let's try the next one.
It seemed they're in groups. Like even I was in the city yesterday coming home, so passing by like 116th Street, and there's 3 of the they homeless junkies. They're sitting on the bench. They're at the station, out on the subway, but they scream at each other. It's like they're best friends, but some arguments. So again, it could have been one of them didn't produce enough nickels. Who knows? You
gotta be careful when going to the city looking like a tourist. That's one thing I see. We live in the boonies out here, so when we go to the city, even though we live kind of close, we always look around, and that's like the first time you're getting like people throwing mixtapes in your hand and rapping, starting to do like performance.
They all think I'm a tourist.
Performance in front of you, and now you owe them $25, or Cookie Monster wants a picture, and you think Cookie Monster wants a picture, but then your family member takes a picture, and now you owe Cookie Monster like $50.
Or the body painting chicks.
Yeah. Well, that's really worse. You get little a nipple in there, so it might be
at
worth
least
$100,
At least
the thing is, and I was in Times Square yesterday, just passing through. It's like, and this like even though I've been in New York and I've been offered this other city, like someone actually came up to me. This is how bad the city's gotten. Like some guy asked me if I wanted weed or coke. I was like, and literally there's like cops like right across the street. So this is how bad things have gotten. But I would say for any person traveling, the key is this: don't make eye contact. Even if someone says hey. As soon as you turn your head when they say hey, they got you. Just keep going. Like you didn't hear them. Just keep going. And you got it. And it happened to me one time. I went to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Again, I was a tourist. So I was like, I don't want to stick out as a tourist. So you go there. There's like it's like total madmen. So many like people on meth and stuff like that. So when I went out, I had a hoodie. Put the hoodie over me, and I just walked like one of them, like just drugged out, and no one bothered me. So you gotta like don't make eye. You gotta adapt. But definitely, if you're visiting the city, stuff like that. Don't make eye contact. Even if they say, hey, keep going.
I got hugged by a Buddhist monk once when I was in the city. He comes up to me, gives me like this little gold like card thing. He's like, "Here, it's for you. It's a gift. Here, sign your name. Okay, you give me tip $20." I'm like,
yeah.
Well, good advice, James. For now on, I'm gonna dress like a junkie with my head down, looking at my feet.
In fact, yeah, go.
I'm gonna make them work for it.
Yeah, they got it. But go dress like Bigfoot or something. No one will bother you.
Or Cookie Monster.
Yeah.
Landing on the moon? Hoax?
No, I think it's real. I think that happened. It's close.
You mean to tell me they didn't this wasn't like studio in LA, Arizona?
I don't see the benefit because all right, I know we were racing with Russia at the time. Well, eventually they would get there as well, and if they could call out BS. Well, this is the real footage. Why does it not look like your footage? So we know you're BS. And so no, I think the moon landing happened. And like, okay, let's just say what would be the point of faking it? It's not going to like inspire people. You still had 1968. You still had Vietnam. The country was still rioting left and right, worse than what we got right now. It was way more divided than it was right now. People don't realize how it really was bad back then. So it didn't really solve anything. So I don't know. There's no purpose of faking it. I don't know. I don't see why.
Good answer. I mean, there's a lot, like we were talking about conspiracies last week because of people not believing in COVID and a lot of other things. And the main thing with the moon landing is people say like the flag is blowing a direction, and on the moon it wouldn't blow apparently because of gravity and whatever, the airflow.
Yeah, it could die.
Big thing, and they're sending 5G and they're controlling us all from outer space.
Exactly. Oh, it could be where Bigfoot's hiding though. He might be on the moon. That's what it is. Because he probably doesn't have to breathe normal oxygen.
I mean, maybe Bigfoot is chilling with Tupac, because that was my next question. Tupac still alive? James, you gotta know.
He's hanging out with Biggie.
I got him on my cell, but I think him and Biggie were shot and killed. Again, I don't see what conspiracy why you would keep them alive. Basically, it seems like, I don't know what the cops, but it seemed like some sort of retaliation, the East Coast, West Coast stuff, and who knows, but I'm sure they're both dead. There's no reason for like Tupac to go into hiding. If anyone, I can see Michael Jackson doing that because he's such like, first of all, he's wacko at that point of his life, is complete, but also filthy rich, where you could fake your death and he could be in some island in Tahiti right now. So of the two, I could see Michael Jackson faking his death more than Tupac.
Wow. I mean, there was some like interesting, people seeing him in Cuba. And there's like lookalikes, and the fact that he's released so many albums after his death, and the fact that he referenced like the aftermath of his death in his albums. It's just, I guess he was really prepared, and it's sad to say.
He could pull it off more. He could be rich. Obviously he would probably cut his hair, get so much more plastic surgery. Like he was like unrecognizable by the end anyway, but he could probably just get some whole other face, and he could pull it off more. And so, yeah, I could see him alive, more than Tupac.
Yeah. So how much wood can a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Yeah, you can.
You don't have to answer that.
As much as a bear could shit in the woods. There you go.
Have you ever asked Siri that question?
Funny enough, I don't even have Siri. I don't have that.
You're not missing much.
Yeah.
But she has some pretty interesting answers. If you ask her that question a couple times in a row, she'll give you like some pretty funny ones. And finally, she'll be like, it's not even a woodchuck. Just shut up.
But it'll take what you said. It'll say Caddyshack is on 2 p.m. on TNT.
That's a good move.
So like, one of the reasons we ask these bizarre questions in general is like to get people, I guess, off the hot topics of the world. Like we talk about the hot topics, but the thing is people dwell on them. So we want to we kind of all think the same goofy things. Some people are like, I guess, extremists about these beliefs, but there's something like there's a common ground. And it's comedy in general, laughter, and coming together. And I think that it's good for us to do that in a cheesy way. So one last question for this, and then we can go into other topics if you guys wish. What would you be most pleased with once Area 51, like their secrets were out? What secret do you wish Area 51 would have?
I guess I just more about maybe the spacecraft itself more than the alien. Just like I would like to see just some cool thing that could go like the speed of light. Alien, again, we kind of got this before, like life on other Earth. I guess that's not answering, but maybe there's they have some gnarly ship there, like in storage still, like in Independence Day, still floating. We just don't know how to use it. So like that would be cool to find out. Again, but that whole Area 51 thing, I think that's a little, again, I'm not into much of the sci-fi, like thinking like there's other life forms out there. So I just think it's a military base. They might have been experimenting with like stuff a little after World War II. So maybe somebody saw a UFO, or maybe they tried some super plane and it's crashed, and they're just keeping it quiet. So I think it's just like a U.S. experiment thing that just didn't go wrong, and they just have the area closed off. Could also be like a nuclear reactor situation. Maybe they're trying to build some hydrogen bomb or something, and the area is defected. If they just don't want people within a certain area, they get radiation poisoning or something. So it could be something more than that. But if anything, I'd like to see a cool spacecraft. That would be the best I get. Because an aliens is going to be a dead body anyway, so it's not exciting. But if you get a cool spacecraft, that's much more rewarding.
Yes, and then we could duplicate it and use it. Be awesome. So, like, what's next? I know you have a lot of plans, but what is next? What can we look forward to from James Zeiss?
Like I said before, I got the micro short, which should happen most likely. Again, I got something else also, which is again more of a comedy. It'll probably be another short film, so working on that. Obviously it's the Section 420 Talking Yankees. They got spring training around the corner, so we're probably going to stay in the Zoom format, but we might want to switch it up a little bit. Might get a green screen and kind of do some funky images and just switch it, show up a little bit in that way. So working on that. And other than that, just probably just try to increase my actingness in terms of just trying to get more roles in this world, even though we got all the COVID stuff, and just hooking up with new filmmakers and, whether I'm an actor for them or something else, and just branching out from there. And just, again, I don't know where any of this is going. Probably nowhere. It's just like I just do it week to week, month to month, and like it's all right. I've been, I think, 7 years probably so far in this journey, whether it's acting, filmmaking.
But have you? I mean, have you? If you've had fun doing it, you've never wasted a minute of your time. So
exactly,
as long as you're enjoying it and you're meeting cool people, making good friendships and relations. I don't know. Like
on a more technical note, like what do you do in terms of like finding funding for your projects? Because I know that's a big challenge for a lot of people.
I rob banks. Well, luckily the first two really are kind of out of pocket. Again, the short film. So I like one location was restaurants. I think I gave them like $200 or $300. So it's more just self-funded. And again, that's why when I write, I don't write anything I can't get funding or filming for. So that's why, all right, like Victor had a dance studio. All right, rented that out for like $200 for a couple hours. So I really luckily haven't, and that's why I've kind of stayed in the short film genre, just as it goes for a feature film. To keep audience engaged, you're gonna have to give them 90 minutes. You can't just do one hotel room and one your friend's place down the block. You have to have a lot of stuff. So that's why I've never gone to the feature film yet, because that's a lot more money. So to this date, everything's been self-funded pretty much. I don't do GoFundMe. So hey, can you fund my project? I understand people need to ask, but I feel bad doing that.
I've done it, and I'm telling you, I've asked for money from people, and there's a sense of like begging and a sense of like your pride, and GoFundMe, I'm giving you this, and I'm not against it in any regard for people who do it, but for me, like I felt like people close that are like, I support you. You take it like, you kind of feel like a slap in the face when you send them the link, and you're like, even if you don't send anything, just like my page or share it, and they just see like it's seen. So like moments like that actually get me. They work against you. Like you're trying to get supported, and they're not even beyond money. They're not even supporting you that way. Or people feel like they feel weird by saying no, and they don't read the whole thing. So they just don't do anything. They don't even share it or anything. So it's just it's tough. It's challenging. Whenever someone's pocketbook's open, or deals you have to make with certain people, because you never know what kind of deals you're gonna have to make if they do hand you money, and they could be very complicated. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah,
you never know.
Yeah, I never got to that level yet. Again, this can deal because if you can do a feature, you're getting a lot more money. You have to do a lot more. And again, I hate people asking people for like a nickel and stuff like that. But at least on social media wise, I try to like share people's stuff all the time as much as I can. If someone has a show coming up, I'll share it. Maybe 3 people see it. They're probably not going to go to it, but at least they've seen it. So
support your local and your friends and
exactly.
fellow filmmakers and artists. There's not enough. There's a lot of people out there that they're sharing each other's like political posts right now, and like these ridiculous conspiracy theories people share all over. Well, while you're doing that, share your friend who's just started his new web series, or share your friend who's got a page up here that's got like 5 likes.
That you think is nice.
Support your peoples.
And it can help you because they'll say, all right, who shared this? They may look at your stuff. Hey, this guy like what he's doing, and again, it just is so beneficial, and it's free to do. And again, you don't have to pay a nickel. You just hit the share button, which you could do it for anything,
Yep. True. So is there any final thoughts, James, you want to go through? I definitely want you to shout out how people can reach out to you and let you link up with you in the future. This has been fun. I definitely would like to do this again in the future with other hot topic issues. We kept it light, we kept it fun. But if you want to like final note.
Well, yeah, in terms of finding on Twitter, so it's just James at James Zeiss. Luckily for you, the spelling's right here. There it is. There's the spelling. So at James Zeiss. Instagram a little different. I have to get a little sophisticated. It's James F, as in Francis. Not too many people know it. James Francis Zeiss.
Oh,
so yeah, you can hit me up there. Follow me and some weird stuff. I'm probably more active on Instagram. Twitter, I don't use that. I just use it maybe to promote the Yankee show a little bit. I don't use Twitter that much, like I said, because there's so much stuff going on with Twitter. I just try to avoid. I just use it to promo. Instagram, where I'm probably more interactive, stuff like that. And can't send a Facebook request. Can't, you got to pass. I have a very select group of friends. Like, it's only for the best of the best. So send a request. I can't guarantee I'll accept it, but you can send it. We'll see what happens. And yeah, I'll see.
Because you gotta filter out some of the
you know what? You know how many times I like in the beginning I figured like I see people with like 5,000 friends, so like I want to be like that guy. You don't realize when you add all these people, like all the solicitation, and half the time it's people that are trying to find you from various accounts that you blocked. Unfortunately, I have that type of chaos, but I feel like a lot of people do. They have like, people stalking them from other accounts, or like you got some guy from Indonesia trying to sell you stuff, or you get some girl who looks like a, porn star, like saying like, follow me on, whatever, Cash App or.
I started having some Russian chick who got my email, well, supposedly a Russian chick, wanting to be my pen pal. I'm like, I don't know you.
But I mean, well, there's like one of them. It's like some guy, random guy. It's like an Instagram just messaging me, but like he's cool. Like he's kind of stalkerish, but like he'll check in once every 4 months. He doesn't push it. It's like, what's up? All right, I get back to him. I don't ignore him, and he's cool. But he'll disappear for another 5 months. But yeah, I'm like, I don't even know 1,000 people. I don't know how someone can know 5,000 people. See, whatever. Again, with social media, to each your own how you want to handle it. But like some people, like they send a friend request to someone they were in the same room with. Did you talk to him? No, but we're in the same room. Like, how do you know you don't like me? Or maybe I'm not going to like you. Like, at least you want to talk to someone, have a little idea who they are before. To have 5,000 is crazy. Oh, maybe using it for marketing purposes. That's fine. It's business.
Well, I find it so funny when like people add they add like their friends, people they don't know, or friends, family.
That's what I used to do when I first started.
We started making movies, and like before I knew it, there was people, that were casted in the films, like adding my niece and nephew. Like I saw mutual friends. I'm like, when did that happen? Or like, when did that meeting take place when I wasn't there? Or just strange, or like, yeah, it's just weird. Or like you said, like people you were in the same room with, or you went to work with, and they like quit after a week, and they end up friend requesting you. It's like,
or they reach out to say hello, and you go, I don't remember who you are. Sorry.
But that was, that's a topic in general. But James, I don't want to keep you all night. We had, a lot of fun with this. And like I said, anytime in the future you want to jump on a hot topic, you can see the schedules listed, people. I think next week we got eBay Black. If you want to, comment on there or even jump on the discussion, you have some questions to ask or be involved.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We're still learning like the process of the show and how we want to keep it flowing. And we're not even so sure we want to start it off with current events, because sometimes the current events are, dark and depressing. And we're trying to make it light, but at the same time fun. So thanks again, James. We're gonna cancel here, but
all right, and then also I guess is this so you do take put this like on YouTube afterwards, so like maybe I could send people like the live link afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if you missed the interview, you catch here's the recording.
Yeah. We actually have a page now on Facebook. We're trying to build an audience. Right now it's running off my personal Facebook page, but in the future it's going to be off of the Thursday Exchange Facebook. So it's the Thursday Exchange, and it's just going to be the same YouTube channel, but the YouTube links, right after we're done, I'm going to upload this video. It's going to go onto YouTube, and it's going to be on that Thursday Exchange Facebook page, but I'll share it to you in your inbox and you'll have it. But for everybody else out there who just jumped on the conversation now and you want to get filled in and all the fun details, you can just
read
and get the link. All right, guys, it's been real.
All right, thanks for having me again. It's been fun and nice meeting you.
Great meeting you.
and yeah, do this some other time.
All right.
All right.
Have a good night,
Bye-bye.
James.
Peace out.
Bye, world.
Bye.